All right, Baruch Hashem, we are learning another letter from 30 Letters in 30 Days. Sorry again for the late start. Today is day number 24, the eve of Hey Nisan, the fifth day of Nisan. We're less than a week away from our completion, from our siyum of 30 Letters in 30 Days, and our big celebration of the Rebbe's birthday on Yud Aleph Nisan. And as we mentioned, we are having a live in-person class at the newly opened SoulWords house, Be'ezras Hashem. It's a women's event. Please RSVP. Seating is extremely limited. There will be a link. There is a link below if you're watching on YouTube. Other platforms, I can't help you. But if you're watching on YouTube, there's a link below to RSVP for the women's live in-person Yud Aleph Nisan 30th letter event at the SoulWords house near the oil. Going to give a little stock on the Kol Chabad Pushka app. All right, Givaldic. I made a bracha earlier. You guys know all my lines. L'chaim. Let's do it. Shall we do it? Okay, we're going to do it. Baruch Hashem. This letter is from Chelik Dalet of not Likutei Sichos, of Igros Kodesh. Baruch Hashem Tezayin El Tavshin Yud Aleph, Brooklyn, New York. This is from Elul of Tavshin Yud Aleph. That means the first year after the Rebbe received officially the leadership. So I want to highlight that this is early, like literally the first year of the Rebbe's Nesios. And as such, and I'm saying this as a limud zchus, as a defense of the person to whom the letter is written, because he was a great and illustrious chassid. And he did a lot of great work. And when he wrote this letter, A, he was a young little pipsqueak. He was, I think, 22 years old. B, it was really early in the Rebbe's Nesius. So if somebody would have written this letter, in the 70s or 80s, you'd be like, dude, like, do you not know yet? Have you not gotten the memo? But in 1951, I think it's understandable that somebody might have been confused about the following matter. What is it? So intriguing. Yeah, I know. I'm trying to hook you in. Okay. Nechmud v'noyim v'chulu mereno Rav Shalom Doiv Shiechye. Shalom Doiv Ber Lifshitz. Shalom Avracha. Okay. Kibalti michtavim Motzei Shabbos Kodesh Aleph Elul. I received your letter from Motzei Shabbos Rosh Chodesh Elul v'toichne shemishtatef ba'avedas Hever Pi'ilei Machane HaTorah. And you write in your letter that you are participating in the Association of Torah Activists. What was the Hever Pi'ilei Machane HaTorah, the Association of Torah Activists? It was a group that basically was saving new immigrants to Eretz Yisrael from assimilation, particularly from the Sephardic communities. There was a lot of indoctrination, secularization that was going on. And, the whole culture war in Eretz Yisrael at that time between the secular and the religious. And unfortunately, a lot of the new immigrants, especially from the Sephardic countries, who were very traditional and wanted religion, but they were either forced or led astray into being secularized. And it was a terrible thing. And there was this group, the Hever Pi'ilei Machane HaTorah, and they were saving kids from this. by educating them and informing them and connecting them to tradition and faith. And actually it became, this movement was ultimately pivotal in creating the foundations for the religious Sephardic community to a great extent in Eretz Yisrael. At any rate, so this Bacher, he was a yeshiva Bacher, writes to the Rebbe, I think he was 22 years old at the time, and he says he's part of this group. And the Rebbe says, and you write in your letter that you're seeing good fruits from your labor, like you're involved in this group and you're accomplishing. But however, the religious community in Eretz Yisrael didn't really respond to this call. And now the work is all upon you guys. In other words, they didn't have a lot of help. The other religious communities were sort of like, what can we do? You know, not our problem. So there was a lot of work to be done, and it kind of fell on this small group of guys. So this is what this Shalom Deber Lifshitz is writing and reporting. And it's causing you to lose out on Torah study. He's a yeshiva bacher. He should be learning full-time. He is learning full-time. But now because of this activism, he's not able to learn as much as he could or should or would. And so he's writing to the Rebbe and saying, I got a problem here. This work is taking me away from my full-time learning. And he's asking me, is it worthwhile to continue? That's why I say, you got to cut this kid some slack. He's writing this in 1951, okay? Is it worthwhile to continue with this? Or to quote his own words, is he obligated to abandon his own soul for the souls of others? Now, my good friends, anyone who knows anything about the Lubavitcher Rebbe could already figure out basically the gist of the Rebbe's answer. Is it worthwhile to save these kids from assimilation, even if it means I'm going to miss out on some of my Torah study? Should I abandon my soul to save other souls? And yes, you're right. You know what the Rebbe is going to answer. But let's see how the Rebbe answers it. Hine nivhalti l'shaylazu. I was shocked by this question. I hold, and maybe I'm making stuff up, that when the Rebbe, why does the Rebbe use a language like I was shocked? First of all, the Rebbe's got to know that that's shocking to us. When we read that the Rebbe is shocked, that shocks us. And not just that the Rebbe is shocked, that I shocked the Rebbe. Like, how do you think I feel? Like, if I just heard I shocked the Rebbe, well, you know, I'm making this up, but, you know, you have to guess that the Rebbe, in his boundless sensitivity, doesn't want to make me feel bad. So he tells me something I said to him was shocking. Like, why is he even telling me that? This is what I think. The Rebbe is teaching us how to think. And it's not enough just to say that, no, that's not what we think. Other people think that, but we don't think that. That's one approach. We have a different approach. The Rebbe is modeling for us that this is a shocking idea. Not because he's trying to make us feel bad that he was shocked, but to teach us that it should be shocking to us. Okay? That's how I understand it. So the Rebbe says to this young man, I was shocked by the question. At the same time, Hashem is giving you success. And Hashem is giving you the opportunity to save Jewish boys and girls from heresy, God forbid. V'lazer lahem shishru Yehudim ne'amanim la'Hashem u'leteiraseh, and you are being given the opportunity to see to it that they should remain believing Jews who believe in Hashem and His Torah. Remember, these are kids coming largely from traditional backgrounds. And we see this with our own physical eyes. In other words, you don't have to speculate and wonder, oh, is it actually accomplishing anything? Like, you see for yourself, these are kids who would have been pulled into the secularization. You are literally taking them out of it, and you see what you're accomplishing. So along comes the Yetzer Hara, and he starts smooth talking you, and he says, he says, who knows if this is the right thing to be involved in? Maybe it's better for you to be involved in Torah. You could steig in Torah. So the Rebbe says, that's the Yetzer Hara. You are succeeding and saving lives, and you see that you're succeeding. So it could only be the Yetzer Hara would come along and throw cold water on that. And the way that he does it, he says to you, well, maybe you should be learning Torah. Okay. You do a psak hadin. Now, I love the Rebbe's answer here, because this guy, this is how I take it. This kid is like, I don't want to say that he's holding himself out as such a Talmud Chacham, but because that sounds arrogant, but it's more like he's expressing, and I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt that he means it sincerely. He's expressing this sincere desire to learn Torah. So the Rebbe writes him back like a Rosh Yeshiva. Meaning to say, the Rebbe writes to this kid as if this kid were a Rosh Yeshiva. What I mean to say is, the Rebbe doesn't give him a pep talk. He doesn't like try to encourage him. I mean, he does, but the style of the answer is the Rebbe basically takes different Gemaras and builds and explains and contrasts and makes an argument, a Talmudic argument. It to me, it's poetic, because he's claiming he's not getting to learn enough. Like, kid, sit down and learn this letter. You have enough learning here. You have enough here to learn. This is learning, okay? You want to see Torah? This is Torah. All right. Yedua psak hadin begemara. Asher mitzvah sheyafshel la'aseis al yidei achedim mevatlim Talmud Torah bishvila. Made cotton, tes, base. With a manamokim, with citations and everything. It's the Gemara in Made Cotton, daf tes, or base, that says very clearly, we literally nullify, but we lose out on Torah study in order to perform a mitzvah that cannot be performed by anyone else. So first of all, the Rebbe gives him this Gemara, the Gemara Made Cotton. You want to know if you should be continuing this work, even though you're being mevatel Talmud Torah? This Gemara says right here, the mevatlen Talmud Torah. Yeah, you do. You do lose out on Torah study in order to do this mitzvah. Who else is going to do it? You just told me in a letter that the rest of the Chareidische Welt isn't doing it. You told me that was part of his argument. All the work is on us because no one else will do it. Yeah, right. Exactly. No one else will do it. So the Gemara, the same Gemara that you claim you want to sit and learn Gemara all day, that same Gemara is telling you, mevatlin Talmud Torah. Sorry, I'm getting a little excited, but there's a Gishmak Sugya here. Okay. V'yadua gam kein maimer ha-Gemara b'Tmura. Now, the Rebbe gives him another Gemara and Tmura. Al Pasik on the verse, I think it's from Mishli, but if you're real chassid, it's from the Hakdamas Malakit of Tanya. Ash v'rash nifgashu me'er shneim Hashem. The rich man and the poor man meet, and Hashem illuminates both of their eyes. When the person who's wealthy in Torah knowledge assists the person who is poor in Torah knowledge, what happens? Both of their eyes are illuminated. The giver also gains and increases in his Torah learning. So the Gemara in Tmura says that when one person teaches another person Torah, it's not just the recipient who gains. Obviously, the recipient gains because he's the one who's being taught. He gains the knowledge that he's being taught. But no, it's even more than that. Hashem illuminates both of their eyes, meaning the teacher gains through teaching, gains in Torah, gains in understanding of Torah. So first, there's the Gemara made cotton, mevatlan Talmud Torah. Now you have the Gemara in Tmura, which is, and is it even really bittul Torah? Because in the end, you're actually gaining. You're actually gaining from this. And I don't mean gaining in some other area. I mean, in Torah itself, you're gaining. Shezeu harbe yeser. Now we have another Gemara. Shezeu harbe yeser memaimer ezel Tainus Zayin Aleph. This is much more than the other Gemara. We have the Gemara in Tainus Dav Zayin Omid Aleph harbe lamadati mirabeisai umechaverai. I learned much from my teachers. I learned much from my colleagues. Umetalmidai yeser mekulam. But I learned the most from my students. So the Rebbe is going to juxtapose now the Gemara in Tmura with the Gemara in Tainus. Remember, we have three Gemaras now. We have the Gemara in Moed Cotton, Mevatlan Talmud Torah. Then we have the Gemara in Tmura, which says that Me'ein Shneim Hashem. Then we have the Gemara in Tainus, which says Harbe Lamadati Metalmida Yeser Mekulam. Okay, so the Rebbe now juxtaposes the Gemara in Tainus with the Gemara in, the Gemara in Tmura with the Gemara in Tainus. What's the difference? Because they both say that the teacher gains Torah knowledge by teaching. But one is saying a little something different, or a lot something different than the other. Okay, they both say the teacher gains Torah knowledge by teaching, but it's quite different. Let's go inside. Okay, ki hamayme b'tainus. The Gemara in Tainus misaper masha adam loimid kifi yachaltehu kediak aloshen lamarti. It's talking about the limits of the person's ability to learn. Okay, meaning lamarti, I learned, meaning, okay, where did I learn the most from? From being a teacher. Mitalmida yeser mekulam. I learned more from my students than I learned from my teachers. But it's still, I learned, and therefore it's limited to my capacity. As opposed to what? Limited to what? As opposed to when it's coming from Hashem and it's unlimited. Let's go weiter. But the Gemara in Tmura says that Hashem illuminates both of their eyes. Now you're talking about the illumination of his eyes coming from Hashem, not lamarati. I learned what I'm able to achieve. Okay, so in the scale of things that I can achieve, I achieve the most by being a teacher, but it's still only my achievement, what I'm capable of achieving. And that's the Gemara in Tainus. But the Gemara in Tmura says that it's Hashem who's illuminating the eyes of the teacher, so that it's unlimited because it's based on what Hashem is capable of giving, which is unlimited. Okay, gishmak, very, very gishmak. Now that Rebbe spells it out. What is my point here? Not just that through his bittul Torah, through his missing out on learning le'ezesman for a certain amount of time, that you are doing what the Gemara in Moed Cotton tells you to do. That's not my point. My point is not, okay, so you have an excuse, you have a patur, you have an exemption. The Gemara Moed Cotton says, Mevaten Talmud Torah. You're allowed to. No. Ela oitzais. My point is much more than that. Shibitula shel Torah zehu gufa kiyuma. That your bittul Torah, I'm putting it in scare quotes if you're listening on the spot of her or something. You can't see my little air quotes I'm making, but your bittul Torah, what you're calling bittul Torah? No, that is Torah. Because your heart and mind are being refined 1,000-fold. Which means that you're able to learn 1,000 times faster. You got the upgraded new processor, the new chip, whatever they call it. Meaning to say, it's not just the Torah itself demands that you're mevatel Torah. So you got to be mevatel Torah. What can you do? Torah itself demands. No. You're not losing. Actually, because of what you're doing, It is changing your brain and heart so that you will be more successful in learning than you would have been had you not been involved in this important life-saving work. So you're not only are you not, okay, 3 levels. One level is you're missing out, but hey, what can you do? You got to miss out. Another level is, no, you're not even missing out. And the third level, and this is what the Rebbe says, you're gaining. You're gaining in the precise area that you're afraid of missing out in. You are actually becoming more of a Talmid Chacham by stepping out of the base medrash, closing the Gemara, step out of the base medrash, and go help these kids. Gewaldig. And I've said this before during the 30 letters in 30 days, and I'll say it again. The Rebbe never says, I can't say never, I didn't see it, that, look, you're going to miss out, but Torah tells you to do it, so do the right thing, follow what Torah says to do. No, it's always when you do what Torah tells you to do, you're going to gain. And usually it's in the context of materially, like you won't lose out materially by following Hashem's will. Here it's even spiritually, because you could think, all right, like there are 2 spiritual obligations that are upon me, and I can only do one, not the other. So I'm going to have to miss one in order to do the other, and I'll let Torah guide to me. I'm not picking. Torah is going to be the guide to me which one I have to pick, but I'm going to lose out. And the Rebbe is saying, you're not losing out. You're not losing out. In fact, not only you're not losing, you are gaining. And not just gaining in the general sense, like specifically in the area of Limud Torah. Okay. Now from your whole situation, we can see how true the sages are. What the Rebbe gives them another Gemara, noch mit dem Maramokim Kufhei Beis. Kachum Nase Shel Yetzer Hara. This is the craftsmanship of the Yetzer Hara. Today he tells you this. And then he says to you this, kach. And then he says kach, thus, this, whatever. Ad she'omer lach, until he tells you, aveda zara, go and worship idols. V'diak kviktus mir v'cham yadmor, zechat tzadik v'kodesh levrocha l'chai hoilam haba nishmas begin ze mirem, zechose yagener lino aloshin kach. The Frierdiker explains like this. What does it mean, kach? Such or thus shall you do. Yetzer Hara tells him. Yetzer Hara is very cunning. He comes to each one with an argument that is tailor-made to that person, to what's going to work with that person. He doesn't tell everyone the same thing. He tells everyone a different thing depending on where that person's weaknesses and vulnerabilities are. I will save. So in this case, he knows, the Yetzer Hara knows what's the weak spot. He's going to come and tell this bacher, oh, you're losing out on Torah learning. Because that might actually work. Okay. But in the end, he gets the person, or at least he gets the person into a place where the Yetzer Hara can even be so brazen as to suggest to go serve idols. So, like, don't listen to the guy. And you should look in the printed pamphlet of Chayelul, which probably you already have, and it speaks more about this teaching. Okay. I'm going to conclude my letter here with a blessing. This is very interesting, the Rebbe's blessing. Watch this. I'm concluding my lesson here, my letter here with a blessing for success in your holy work, meaning in your activism and saving these kids. And that will automatically bring success in your Torah study, that you will do in a spirit of awe of heaven, and you will continue to grow in Torah and in Yiras Shamayim together. You hear what you caught that? Basically, the Rebbe is like reinforcing it. I'm going to give you a bracha that you should succeed in your activism, in your work with these kids. And that's it. I don't even have to give a bracha now for success in Limud Torah, because I just explained to you with all those Gemaras that the more you work in helping those kids and the more you succeed in that area, automatically the more success you're going to have in your learning. So it's like two brachas in one. The Rebbe gives him the one bracha, which automatically brings the second. Givaldik. By the way, I'm interested to know what was your style of learning before you started this work with this group. I'm not sure if the Rebbe is saying this because it's not explicit enough for me to decode it, but like, I'm wondering if the Rebbe is asking him. Maybe this is obvious to people, but not to me. But I kind of suspect that this might be the meaning. Like, by the way, could you do a before and after? Could you do a comparison side by side? How were you learning before? And do you have now set learning for Nigla and Chassidus? I think it might be the implication that, like, because otherwise, why is the Rebbe asking what was your learning like before? Okay, but it's not 100% clear to me. Remember, this is an Elul, so with a blessing for being written and inscribed, being written and sealed for good, Lashana Tova for a good year, Umasukah, a good sweet year, Musker Pnim, Keta Mesichas Shabbos Kedesh Mevorachim Rish Chedesh Elul Asher Yanin, I say, and is included here a section of the talk of the Sicha from Shabbos Mevorachim Chedesh Elul from the Rebbe's Fabrengen, which I think may be of interest to you. Givaldik. What a geschmacke letter, really, honestly. Okay, so we all knew that the Rebbe is not going to let this kid stop saving lives. But the way that Rebbe did it, just so powerful and, dare I say, enjoyable to study. Okay, thanks a lot. Good night. Again, sorry for the late start. We got a few more nights of this. Tomorrow night's a double letter. Thursday night, then we'll have Matzah Shabbos. Then we'll have Sunday, Monday, and then Tuesday's our final class. That's a live stream. You don't have to be there in person, but you could be if you're a woman. Okay, we have 5 more nights of this. Hashem should help. Hashem will help. Good night.